Shalini and Sushmita to, inviting me to be a part of this, and brilliant job with what you guys are doing and, helping Praveen with the whole COVID relief. And I love the panel. I've seen and I've read about them. And I love this sort of curation that you guys have done. So brilliant work. And Shalini, I'm very proud of you, like always.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you also, but I've known Shalini for
Yeah,
so
I know,
long.
I know. Yeah. Thank you so
Do
much.
a lovely thing.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks to everyone for joining in. I don't know a few people here, but thanks. I hope this kind of helps you in any which way. I don't know, but I just hope. Thank you. Journey began like with politics, because that's what I studied. And very early on in my life, like say around 10th and 11th, for me it was like I want like my vocation, I wanted it to be politics. I used to see myself running for the elections and being a leader, because that is something that I don't know, I was just imagining myself to be that way. So of course, later on, after my 12th standard, I did go for the major, in political science, studied it and everything. While I was studying political science, my parents had this sort of pressure that, listen, we want you to, run into like the administrative services of India. So like, studying for UPSC and MPSC. I'm sure some of you must have gone through that path here. But yeah, so while studying that, and then while understanding the difference between, what a politician is and what a political leader is, I understood it's a twisted world. And definitely I didn't want to be a part of it. But the subjects, for what UPSC and MPSC hold, somehow really, kept me intrigued, because it had history, it had politics, then it had like economics, not so much, but Hindi, Marathi, because I got to write essays and everything. But somehow, it didn't have that grip. I didn't have the gist for it after a while, because I realized while we were studying, and most of my seniors were like cracking, but some weren't, because of a lot of corruption, and some were bribing people to get the post and everything. That just like I just gave up. Like, I mean, why was I even studying? And also, I think later, if I would have gotten into it, I would have just had a dreadful life. So I was very clear. But then I was like, okay, listen, I might like to get into the foreign services of India, but I'm not going through the whole examination. So after my bachelor's, I did do my diploma in geopolitics and international relations again, where like our faculty was beautiful. Also, the course was designed to just have like 10 people and not more than 10 people. So we had like one-on-one connections with like the major generals and lieutenants who fought like the 1962 Indochina War. They were literally coming and teaching us geopolitics. So it was a crazy experience. And then I went on to do my master's in international relations, and I enjoyed it little. But if I were in England studying fashion, I mean, I would have been on cloud nine for sure. So that was always there, that friction between, what do I want to do, what am I doing, sort of a thing. But then later I came back to India. I started working with a government think tank. I was writing papers for, the welfare of people, the Adivasis. And again, I wasn't enjoying it as much, because I then kind of got like the view that I would be like a research analyst. And I would love to be like, if it were like a backup, like even today, if I wanted to have a side job, I would love to do it in political science, in the sense of policy making, like making policies for a state, making policies for the country, something on those fronts. So somehow I realized I wasn't enjoying it, and I was really hating to even write those papers. Then I moved on to working as a journalist. I started with an internship, of course, at Indian Express, and that kind of just shaped my life, because like my boss was so brutal and so like strict, and our editor in chief was also this strong lady. And these two women gave me like the hardest time of my life. But that was when the arc of my life started just shaping, because like Indian Express is known to be the only newspaper who is like who holds honesty in its journalism. Like they used to literally get threat calls for not taking the money for like to write the kind of news they wanted to write. But these women were like fighting through. You couldn't get through our editor in chief. She was so strong. And today also, I'm so grateful that I had that sort of an experience. So I was loving my work at Indian Express until I was promoted into the sports department, and I was like, listen, what am I like? No, the money was also getting decent. Usually in journalism you don't get paid as much, but with the sports thing I was getting decent. But I was like, listen, I don't watch sports. What am I going to ask? Who? As in, I can still build a questionnaire for an interview, but it's just going to be like he might just be sad or she might just be sad, and I might just be like building stories. So sports was definitely not my thing. Again, would have led to a dreadful life. So I quit, and then I started Elaichi. I didn't know what blogging was. I didn't know. Of course, I knew Instagram. I was on it, but I used to like just keep looking. I think the first two bloggers I started following was this Canadian blogger called Valeria Petrovsky. I don't know her surname, how you pronounce, but her, and Masoom Minawala. I know today, like, I don't prefer my clients even collaborating with Masoom, but like her journey, like, she started then, she was taking pictures from her phone, and until now, like, she never gave up. And that somehow drove me to, start doing these styling things, because that just came inherently to me. And but with that, I wanted to keep my writing go. So I had done a shoot in the Pune Mandai, and then with that I clubbed like my story, wherein my childhood experiences of going to vegetable market with my mother. So that kind of then started playing its role into fashion, and it was getting recognized. My writing was getting slightly recognized and everything, so that just built my confidence and also landed me a job in fashion. So that was again like my friend from school, from college, Tanvi, offered me like a fashion curator job at the Biju Box, which was going to be like a e-commerce website, like a multi-designer store for only jewelry brands. So I was like given a target to get like 6 designers, jewelry designers in a week and all of that. But that was like so exhilarating to just talk to these designers. It was like online shopping, but no money in my bank. Just put it in your cart, choose them, but bring it to your boss. So that was the whole thing. And I loved that experience. Then came convincing these designers, because we were nobody, and there was already Pernias in the market, and these guys were already on Pernias, and they were in a contract that, listen, if we are with Pernias we can't be here. So that convincing, getting, I at least got like the 2 clients, like 2 designers in the first week, and that just built my confidence that, listen, I am loving this. And fashion, that andar ka keeda started blooming. So then that whole rhythm was right, I felt. Then she was also running on the side, she was also running a company which was catering to PR, to hospitality and politicians, which was called Lumos Productions. So she offered me a job there as well, like if you could be like the campaign head, and as well as run the communications for it. I was like, why not? I wasn't getting paid extra, but it's fine. It was like my first job sort of a thing. So I was like, okay, fine, politics is anyway something that interests me. So we started working for this local politician in nearby Nagar, and building a campaign for him and everything. So that was interesting. But the other part where we were doing social media and PR and everything for hospitality, like restaurants and bars, that like was really boring, because I was literally in a bar at 9 p.m., like taking pictures of others' lives, other people's lives where they were partying and drinking for their social media. And I was like, I would rather be at home, watch a good series, or read a book, or at least be with my friends or something. I'm not going to be here at 9 p.m. looking at how fun these guys are, getting drunk, maybe, whatever, and taking pictures of that. So I was like, okay, this is definitely not my scene. And the fashion game was, like, it wasn't just, it didn't have the same fire as it had in the beginning. Especially, I think, because there were two things that was playing at the same time. She was a brilliant person, for no two ways about it. She is the reason why I started Plotty. But I think that whole synchrony wasn't happening, and that's when I lost my like the drive for it, and I quit. And that's how, then after like a lot of back and forth, I was first going to start like a company which sold clothes. I couldn't design, but I was like, okay, I'll be a trader. So I buy from people, and then I, like I curate and then I sell. So Tushar, Shalini knows Tushar, who basically designed the Plotty logo. He was helping me with this, and then I realized, okay, but this is a lot of, like I'll have to put in a lot of money, and there is no guarantee on the return on investment. Then that's when I started, like peddling with the whole idea of consulting and brand management with Plotty. And that's how actually it began, with a lot of back and forth. And I think it was a guided force only. Like I wasn't even clear till I literally designed the logo also. I wasn't clear that, acha, what am I going to do exactly? So I think, but this was the whole scenario. So for me, I think brand management agency is basically you being an influencer who's influencing the decisions of the brand and being a silent decision maker. It's technically, giving what the brand, feeding what it needs, nurturing what it needs, eliminating what it doesn't need, and then, picturing a whole, story for the brand. How the crowd is going to perceive the brand. Are the values clearly seen, even with your social media, with the kind of writing, with the kind of storyline that you have with your campaigns, all of this. I think it's just like some controlling and managing a person's life, an indecisive person at times. I think that is how I would really, because as we've experienced in these 4 years, I personally think that Plotty is an influencer and a silent decision maker for the brands. That's it. They will control, the clients will sit and control, but at the end of the day, you're the one who is influencing them to make that decision. So, I think that is how I would sum it. No, I wanted to say Shalini has been a part of this and she knows this. The brand management, I personally feel you need not go by the book. We did not clearly go by the book to begin with. We just knew that this is our niche wherein we start with management and consultation. I also remember, fluctuating between, listen, we are a fashion PR agency to becoming a communications and a brand management agency. And under that, it's also like social media is one thing, but with that, it also comes about, can you pitch this brand to n number of multi-designer stores? Which are these stores, nationally, internationally? Can you pitch these brands to exhibitions nationally and internationally? You're also helping them create another image where you're not being a salesperson here. Okay, so a lot of people, even when you're pitching this to the brands, they're like, अच्छा तो आप sales भी करोगे क्या? तो उसका आप sales भी कर लो ना, commission ले लो. But वो वैसे नहीं होता है. It's not about that. It's just about building an image wherein, अच्छा, if your brand tomorrow shows up at this store called Ashni and Co, this is the kind of image the brand will have, because it's sitting together with Ekaya, it's sitting together with Raw Mango, and now there is Mimamsa as a brand on Ogan. So that's how its image is created, right? That's when the audience also starts taking it seriously. When you're just on social media trying to talk a lot about Mimamsa, there will be DMs, there will be price inquiries also. But the minute you see this brand is on Ogan, there will be that conversion. So this is another, embellishment to the existing factor of brand management. Then there is styling and art direction. And, so with that again comes like that additional storytelling as to what and how the brand wants to, perceive itself to other people, to the fashion fraternity. And it's a very tailor-made thing also, right? Because it differs from each and every brand. One brand could have its niche as upcycle couture. One brand could have its niche as, like something into hardcore couture, like how Vaishali S is. So it completely differs. Now with styling and art direction also comes like, we also do something like structuring social media campaigns for them. Now since, Instagram stories have also, they're churning out that good reach. So we also run stories, like Instagram campaigns on stories, like interactive campaigns. One we recently did for a client, and it was like your summer memories, basically Indian summer memories. So people said, नानी के घर पे जाके अचार बनाना और अचार खाना, आम के पेड़ पे, we used to get together in the 90s. My summers were like going and plucking a mango, or at least not doing the work sitting there, but having your cousins do it. But now, they have the summers that my niece is doing is she's on her iPad. She has the best of technology, and that's about it. So, so running these campaigns where they find that relevance to interact, they find that relevance to respond to a question like that. So this is another spectrum to it. And again, another thing is we also write press releases. We have stopped pitching them to the media, but we are the voice for the brand by writing press releases and everything. This all of this compiles and sums up to be a brand management agency. Sometimes we are also like we predominantly consult brands as to, this is what you should be doing, this is what you need to avoid. Do not try to collaborate with this blogger. Yeah, this is the kind of person, even if she doesn't have so many followers, her audience could be your audience because she has that niche that caters to the kind of voice your brand holds. So, understanding these things and then finding the rhythm to play the song. Personal opinion is, for me as an agency, I don't want to get into the sales part. I would, I would probably help the brand find a salesperson and make that person do it for them, because that's not my forte, that's not what my brand provides. If given a chance, if some brands are like, listen, but I trust your instinct, could you hire a salesperson for me and make the job happen, I will be open for something like that. And I wouldn't then play on commission basis or something, because that's just passe. I would be like, let's have a fee system and get this done, because that way then we also show results, right? It's quantifiable. So that is something, again, like I said, don't play by the book. You can like literally tailor make your own agency as per your own terms. Cons of brand management agency, I want to give like a reality check to people here, because सब अच्छा सुनने में तो मजा आता है, but you also need to know the dark side of it. Not the dark side, the cons. I mean, AV is here, she knows this. The first thing is ego management, and I think like 80% of a business runs on ego management. You have to constantly manage people, clients' egos, and as an entrepreneur, you will have to manage your employees' egos as well. So that is really like challenging. Even Karan Johar in his recent interview with Anupama Chopra said, listen, my business runs on ego management. So it's very, I mean, you have to, that doesn't, that in any business, but I think in our business it's very prevalent. And second thing is convincing people, like I said, it's of course, you have to, you are the silent decision maker, but you'll also have to convince them in order to make that decision. So these are the two cons, and I think everyone should be aware of these things before they get into a business like that. I would say this is again going to be a blend of finding a middle ground, a blend of keeping your ego aside and managing your client's ego. And the third thing is trusting your instinct and, selling it till your last sweat, I feel. Because they are deaf ears, your client, no offense to anybody, but that is how they are. They'll see somebody and they'll be like, Tora nahi ye kar raha hai, mujhe bhi ye chahiye. But that is working for Torani. That's not going to work for your brand because your audience is different. So, you have to also at times, that is where that middle ground comes. Give them examples. Give them examples of other brands who are not following the same path, who are trying to build their own authenticity in the fashion industry, which is why they are, where they are today, or they've been spoken. When you start giving them examples and then practically probably implement what you're saying, it becomes slightly clearer. And then at times we've been victims of, Sabyasachi is not mostly, but Torani is always like, most of our clients are like, this thing. And we give them, we are like, okay, fine, we're not going to do the similar thing, but we will give you something similar. We tweak it and we give it, because you have to also keep them happy at the end of the day. But you always have to find a middle ground, and you always have to keep your ego outside of the window. In the times, yes. And if brand agencies do try to change their business model, you are in luck to work from home or any other city. Secondly, again, if you do not have relevant experience, don't doubt yourself, just apply. But if you think you have like the visual ideation and the kind of storytelling the brand already has, firstly do your research. Sometimes you think, acha, I want to work for Plotty, or this is the kind of agency I want to go. But chances are, when you actually get the job profile, it may not be the agency for you. So study thoroughly the kind of agency one company is, and then start preparing for your whatever your pitch. And I also feel, if you do not have a relevant experience, create a mock-up campaign which has like the storytelling, which also shows your visual ideation. And then probably if you create a campaign, also give them like an aftermath, that if I present this campaign on Instagram, how will the experience after that be? And that will also show them that acha, she's so hungry, the person is so hungry to learn or to show that what they could potentially bring to the table. And I think it doesn't matter then, experience is something which would be last on the list. So yeah. So I think again you can start with what is the forte that you're good at, what is the forte of Rashmi as a brand. So I think from whatever I've read and seen, sustainability, like you're constantly telling people how they can be sustainable with like the basic things like recycling your old clothes, or trying to wear one garment in different ways. So you can then underline, but again, being sustainable in today's world of Instagram could also not have like a narrowed approach. You have to find your narrowed approach. Like probably you can be like, you can have a niche wherein you're only recycling with your mother's saris. Then that becomes your tone and that becomes your voice, and then you can amplify on it. I think it's just about finding your own sense of voice and then working on it. And then that's how you'll stay different from the rest also, because I mean everyone is doing that. Everyone, people who don't understand sustainability, even I don't understand sustainability. I watch one documentary on sustainability and I feel like, listen, you can throw any question at me and I can answer your questions. No, I will still have zero knowledge about it. So I think it's about how you perceive yourself and what you would like to do, and then amplify on it.
Thank you so much for answering that question.
No worries. I think they will still be relevant, of course, but I think it will be like a good curation now, a more sanitized curation. I feel that not like the pandemic, because now not brands have also become very cautious. They know they can just pay, run an Instagram ad, and get the kind of right audiences. Also, a lot of big influencers are fooling people. Like we've done 2-3 campaigns. Like we collaborated with a PR agency because that's something we stopped doing, and it did not work because there are PR agencies also fooling you, and then there are influencers also fooling you. They have like 100K followers, but the kind of inquiries come would only be 5. So what am I paying you for? So there will be that sanitized approach, and people who may just have like 5,000 followers today, 1,000 followers today, but those 1,000 will be really authentic and real, brands will reach out to them. I think this would be the future. At least we, like at Plotly, I mean, this is what we would love to start if brands listen. Difficult per se, but what we do is, if like Shalini herself took care of a project in Bangalore. Remember, she flew down and she took care of the styling. I did give her a hard time after I saw the pictures, but then she also beautifully fixed it. So that was amazing. So I think it's definitely doable. And secondly, now what we've started doing is, if it's really difficult for us, we tend to find them like artists and help them collaborate with people in different cities. So it's easier for them and it's easier for us also. Now, this is what again we call brand management, that we are not doing the work, but we are managing the brand. Their strengths, and like for example, understand and study your team and give them what they're really good at. Again, here not going by the book plays a very crucial role, because now in other agencies, an account manager is given social media, the same person has to do content writing, the same person also has to do like Instagram digital marketing for that account. Okay, but in Plotty we don't do that. We've actually studied each and every person's strengths. So we have a dedicated person like a content writer who's brilliant at what she does, so she gives her what she's good at. Then we have our social media team who's good at design and who's good at understanding what's happening on Instagram, and so they do that. They are good at communication, so they communicate with the team. I can't so understanding and playing by their strengths. And when they're playing by the strengths, your second part of the question also gets answered. You don't need to motivate them because they're already doing what they love. So I don't see that they would need any motivation. But if they do, I mean, in a team also, you can always share about the kind of inspirations you have, like talk about the films you've watched, talk about the books you're reading with one another in your office, talk about the music you listen to, the documentaries you're watching, or the kind of workout you've embraced recently. So it just gives a sense and sensibility that acha, this person is like working out, cooking, watching this, and then coming to work, acha, I need to do something. At least these are very small things but have a very major effect, is what I think. Already set out a campaign, or say from the two clients, one of them has come to you first saying this is what I need for the festive season and mujhe ye karke dena hai. So you give them that campaign, and the second client also says, listen, I also want something similar. You tell them honestly, this is the client I've already given this campaign to, we cannot have the same one, but we'll craft a new one for you. And then you have to understand what each brand wants from the campaign. Sometimes they want to, like, some of our clients will just randomly wake up one day and be like, I want some noise to happen on Instagram. Now it's so vague, right? So then you have to have like follow-up questions with that voice. What do you mean? What do you want to do with it? Because they're seeing some other brand probably collaborate with a lot of people, and that somehow gotten them a lot of coverage. They want to do the same thing, but you have to again underline that probably this is not the time for you to do this for your brand. It is the right time to do that for the other brand. So just making them understand, and then of course delivering what they want, but definitely not keeping the tone same. Like Angela Missoni was her own personal talent scout, and you should always be your personal talent scout. And they were doing this without social media. You have social media at your disposal now. So first understand and study what the brand with the campaign requires. Then you have social media to find the kind of artists, makeup artists, models, photographers. There's so much. There's like a pool where you can just choose from. And then of course, what makes, like, you might find three really good people, okay, and who tick the box of what you're looking for. But then you have to trust your instinct and go with the person who has like a very humble attitude, because you don't have the time to deal with somebody's tantrums on the shoot day. Somebody might be high on talent but like have a really bad attitude, and trust me, that's going to ruin your soup. So you might as well go with somebody who's decently talented but works with their heart and soul. I mean, that's always the best thing to look for. So, like, do you want to specify?
Like, did it affect your relationship with the brand that you have already, or was it difficult to onboard new brands for your brand agency? So, how did it affect? Are like brands willing to put in that much money for to invest in a brand agency as per se, or are they willing to do it in house now because of the pandemic and because of low sales?
Okay. So how
In
did it
that
affect the
term,
business, basically?
yeah, basically.
So last year it was affected because, in the sense that people, there was not even, you couldn't even ship things, right? So a lot of people halted their stuff, like their services, and that's why we were just sitting with two clients running, and that's about it, Lou. So of course, then the pay cut and everything, we were really hampered by it. This year it was thankfully not that bad, because some clients kept the ball rolling, and some clients did halt, they've still halted, but now things are opening up. So it does create an economic dent to the company, but it's also surprising that this time around we got more inquiries. And this pandemic, I'm actually like hiring more people, which is sort of weird for me also. So it also depends with the thing, where today, even if your shop is shut, you can, because of the online shopping and the DMs and everything, you can ship your stuff. Plus, internationally markets were open. So one of her client is doing really well internationally, so she kept her stuff running. She had to keep the marketing going. So it completely differs. So, but it's always uncertain.
That's amazing that you have brands that are like encouraging you and like to bring people on board. So that's amazing, and all the best to
Thank
you
you so
for the
much. Thank you.
future.
Shwas was started with an initiative to help, brands that are sustainable in their approach and with like authentically with the kind of making they have behind the scenes, to help them with the same services that we offer at Plotty, but at a reasonable cost, like really low cost, because we know behind the scenes they're hardly making any money. But when we started it, we did, we had Vaishali, where we were also marketing her on Shwas, and we were also marketing her on Plotty, because that's like our resume, right, on Instagram. That because Plotty has no followers, so I need to show that here as well. So that was good. But I'll tell you very honestly, then I came across terms like greenwashing, and I really didn't know the kind of brands we were approaching. Are they greenwashing kind of brands or not? And that whole, that's when we also stopped with Shwas. Of course, it might start when it has to start, but the reason why we, kind of halted it, because I think till until the day I am not completely sure of all the aspects of sustainability, I'm not going to play that drum. You know what I mean? I think once the tone is set, we know what we're doing is what then Shwas coming into the limelight makes sense. I don't have a plan, and nobody should, given what the pandemic has taught us. Tomorrow itself is so uncertain. Yeah, tomorrow if I think, acha, I'm going to go to Elephant and Co. to have a good popcorn, it may not happen. We might get into another lockdown. So to be very serious, I really don't have a plan, and I don't want to have a plan. I want to go with the flow and see where life takes Plotty, to be very honest. Bhavya is saying I missed that. The biggest lesson, no, like Corona has taught us all.
Yeah, true.
No, but listen, I want to also say something about giving ourselves hard times with anxiety, especially our generation deals with anxiety day in, day out. And I myself deal with a lot of anxiety. But I think I'd shared this with you, Shalini, about Anuaga. I think we all know who Anuaga is. She ran Thermax for the longest time. So she said in an interview, how she dealt with anxiety. She didn't study to manage an engineering business. She lost her husband, and in the next year she lost a 25-year-old son, who was well equipped to then take the throne, kind of a situation in Thermax. And her daughter that time was studying in England. She was doing mechanical engineering, and of course you can't ask your daughter to come back and take the reins. And she was so anxious, she was so stressed, because it was falling into a pool where you really couldn't swim with the float also. And but she took that anxiety, she looked at anxiety with such a different lens, and she actually went to the company. She knew that the management was polluted, and she got all the board members resigned, and basically she removed them. She got a new section of board of directors, and they then till date they are reading and guiding her through. Today now she's not a part of Thermax, her daughter has taken over. But looking at anxiety with a different lens, it can actually make you so fearless and put you into a challenge and help you go through it. I mean, she said that, and that was like a life-changing sort of a situation. So I think all of us here, we are victims of anxiety, and probably we can start looking at it with a different lens, like Anuaga. Thanks a lot. Thanks to everyone for joining. Thank you.